إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الكلام كلام الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار وبعد. Indeed, brothers and sisters, from the ahadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there are those ahadith, ikhwan, that formulate qawaid, principles in our lives. Those ahadith that will aid us as we traverse closer and closer to the time of that meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That time, brothers and sisters, is coming very close for each and every one of us. And thus it is befitting that we acquaint ourselves with those principles that will make our journey to Allah easy. Oftentimes, ayyuha al-ikhwa, we hear brothers mentioning how life is difficult, how things are hard, how individuals are going through hardships and trials and tribulations and difficulties, how they receive harm from the people, and they are oftentimes in contention. Brothers and sisters, there is a hadith from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a hadith that was collected by Imam Tirmidhi in his Jami', likewise ayyuha al-ikhwa, collected by Imam Ibn Majah in his Sunan, and others upon the authority of Abi Sirmata radiyallahu anhu, who mentioned that the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Man darra Allahu bihi, wa man shaqa Allahu bihi, or shaqa Allahu alayhi. He mentioned that indeed the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, those who cause harm, Allah Azza wa Jal will cause harm to them. And those who cause contention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be in contention with him. Hadith, brothers and sisters, that is simple, though its meaning enters into many abwab from the abwab of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, many areas. Brothers and sisters, the hadith is one, as we mentioned, that was declared Hasan by Shaykh Nasiruddin al-Albani. And it is one that is similar to another statement of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the statement of the Messenger alayhi salatu wassalam, La darara wa la dirar. There is no harm or reciprocating harm. And this hadith, brothers and sisters, if we reflect upon it, then there is much by way of harm that we will be able to alleviate from our lives if we only think and reflect upon the meanings that is present within this short but potent statement of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Al-Raghib, he mentions concerning the meanings of this darar, he mentions أوصل ضررا لغير مستحق له. That is that a person, when the Messenger ﷺ said when a person causes harm, that is that he causes harm and brings harm to one who does not deserve it. That he causes harm to one who does not deserve it. And that breakdown, ikhwan, is one that is jiddan simple. And each and every one of us may reflect upon our actions, our statements, the things that we embark upon, those things that the devil may inspire us and cause us to believe is from good, while in actuality, deep down, we know the type of harm that may cause. So brothers and sisters, the affair is one that is a principle from the principles of the dunya even. And the principles, brothers and sisters, that continue with us throughout our lives, our interactions, our dealings, our transactions. Man barra, barra Allahu lahu. Wa man shaqa, shaqa Allahu alayhi. Whosoever causes harm, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause harm to him. And whosoever causes contention, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will contend with him. And that, brothers and sisters, as it relates first and foremost to the first half of the hadith, the affair of darar, of harm, then that harm, brothers and sisters, our scholars mentioned, revolve around two main areas. It revolves around, first and foremost, bringing about harm to someone else. That is the husul of madarra, the attaining of harm, or the establishment of harm coming from oneself towards someone else. Or secondly, that one caused tafweed al-manfa'a, that on the basis of something that you have done, that you have on the basis of your actions, you have caused a blockade, or you have created a barrier from khair and from good reaching someone. That likewise enters into this affair of darar. Brothers and sisters, subhanallah, in this era and in this age of individualism, and in this land that we live in, where we're nurtured on being better than anyone other than ourselves, and we're the best, and when we nurture our children upon you are the best, and you're better than them, and they're not better than you, and you're superior. When we nurture ourselves, ikhwan, upon striving to be finer and greater than everyone else, and that is the goal of every individual. Brothers and sisters, it is easy to fall into this hadith. It occurs with the men and it occurs with the women. Brothers, this affair then is one that the Messenger ﷺ, by way of a simple principle, established a means of preventing ourselves from that. And that is, brothers and sisters, that every time you embark upon an affair that involves someone else, and that involves your dealing with someone else, whether it be a transaction with someone else, whether it be you speaking about someone else, then remember the principle, man darra, darra Allahu bihi. Whomsoever harms someone, causes them harm, and that is again, لِغَيْرِ الْمُسْتَحِقْ لَهُ, the one who doesn't deserve it, then Allah Azza wa Jal will harm them, and it will occur. اعلم رحمك الله that the statements of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, brothers and sisters, none of them, the Messenger mentioned them in play or amusement. None of them do not really, or as some people say, it doesn't really mean that is going to happen, but rather it is just an encouragement. La. The Messenger said it, then it will occur. Whoever causes harm, Allah Azza wa Jal will harm him. And whoever causes contention, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be in contention with him. As we mentioned, ikhwan, this enters into many, many areas. It enters into the area of al-ghish fil mu'amalat, cheating, deception in the dealings and the transactions that we have. Whether it be those transactions that we have with our brothers, that we have an item that we wish to sell. We know that the item is not a good one. We know that the item has very little life left. We know of the imminent harm that is present within it. And we know of the imminent destruction that may and will probably come to it very soon, on the basis of the fact that we're acquainted with the item, we're acquainted with how it is damaged, and how that item may have, or what it may have by way of life. But we sell it on anyway because it was sold as seen. We sell it on anyway because, you know, it was up to you to check it out. Yahi. That, brothers and sisters, enters into this affair of al-ghish. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned, as occurs in the hadith of Hakim ibn Hizam, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned, as it relates, brothers and sisters, to the transactions and to the dealings. The Messenger, he said, that whosoever has a transaction with two individuals have a transaction, the bay'an. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, al-bay'an bil-khiyar, that the two individuals who enter into a transaction are bil-khiyar. That is, they have the choice to barter, to argue, and to explain that which is present within the item. So they are bil-khiyar ma lam yatafarraqa, as long as they do not part company. فَإِن صَدَقَا وَبَيَّنَا بُورِكَ لَهُمَا فِي بَيْعِهِمَا. If they are truthful and they make the affairs clear, that is, that they say exactly what is present within it. So if the brother says, be honest, Yahi, tell me what is within that. How good is it? What are its problems? In sadaqa wa bayana burika lahuma fi bay'ihima. If he is truthful and he makes the affair clear, then they will have blessings in their dealings and in their trade. Wa in katama wa kadaba muhikat barakatu bay'ihima. But if they lie and if they conceal those faults, then the barakah of that bay', the barakah of that trade will be removed. Brothers and sisters, oftentimes individuals enter into trade just thinking, well, and if it's only the barakah, then khalas, khair inshallah. They will have barakah in other dealings. Remember, brothers and sisters, the statement, وَمَنْ ضَارَّ ضَارَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ. Whosoever causes harm to another individual, you know you're taking that money and giving over an item that is nowhere near worth that money. You know that you're taking that money and giving your brother rubbish. Yet still you continue with that transaction, knowing that you're causing that harm to your brother while he is unsuspecting and unaware. That, brothers, no doubt enters into the affairs. So the uyub and the defects are made clear. Likewise enters into the makar and the khida', enters into plotting and scheming, and it enters into utilization, or the utilization of deceptive methods, in schisms with one's brother. And so I know that my brother intends to do such and such, and so I block his transaction, or I block his dealing before he gets there, or I block the move that I believe he's going to make, not because of anything other than the fact that I don't want him to have that khayr. I don't want him to have that good, because if he gets it, he's only going to boast. If he gets it, he's only going to be puffed up with pride, or he's only going to be, he's only going to be. And so I block it, not for any reason. I possibly won't even be able to obtain it myself. I just don't want him to have it, or I just don't want her to have it. The intent of shar, an intent of evil. Similarly, ayyuha al-ikhwa, from that which enters into that are the many forms of impermissible dealings. Talaqi al-rukban, for example. The Messenger ﷺ prohibited from that which was known as talaqi al-rukban. And that is that the traders in a marketplace, they go and they meet the traders who are coming from outside of that place with merchandise for the purpose of striking a deal with them that is going to cause harm. The amount that I got this product for, it is going to cause harm to the souk. It is going to cause harm to the market. And so I know of them approaching Bedouins, for example, who have some products. I have no clue what it is worth and what it is to be given for it. And so we go and meet them before they reach the marketplace and have an understanding of the value, what something like that ordinarily sells for. We meet them, we buy that from them for that ridiculously cheap price, and then we come back and harm the souk. We harm the market, and we cause harm to the other traders. That enters into that. And so this affair, ikhwan, enters into many areas from the areas of the deen. Similarly, ayyuhal ikhwan, enters into that which is related to partnerships, in dealings, and business. That we have a partnership with a brother, that we have a partnership with a sister, and they are not as well acquainted with the dynamics and the mechanics of this type of trade that we have, or this dealing that we have, or the business that we're involved in. And so I'm able to cream something off at the top of our business, though we are mutual partners. I cream something off the top, and what they don't know won't hurt them. That, brothers and sisters, no doubt enters into that. Similarly, ayyuhal ikhwa, that which is related to the wasiyah and to the affairs of inheritance, that we leave from the 3 houses that we have, we leave 2 of them to one of our 7 kids. And we give it to them in order to harm the rest, or knowing that it's going to cause harm to the rest of the children. But I just love that boy. I just love that son. And he's so responsible. And so I give him 2 of my houses. Or that one causes harm by giving a large wasiyah to someone who was not deserving of that. A wasiyah with more than a third, for example. The wasiyah is the bequest, ikhwan, as it relates to that which is left by the person who is about to pass away. We have 2 types of tarika, or 2 types of things that are left. That thing that the person gave as a bequest to someone prior to his death. And so he says that before I die, or after I die, I want to give such and such to such and such an orphanage, or for the building of such and such a building for the homeless, or to feeding the poor, or. That is permissible, that he does so from his wealth. And that is known as the wasiyah. And then we have mirath. Mirath is that which is given to those who are the inheritors of that person who passes away, and there is no, the person who is alive prior to his death, he has no part in what goes to who. Rather, the affair returns back to that which Allah Azza wa Jal has mentioned in the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. Such and such has a third, such and such receives an eighth, this one receives a quarter, that one has a half. And the person themselves does not come in and dictate that, well, I'm going to give such and such this, and this one that, and that one this. That is inheritance as it relates to among the kuffar. As far as the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal is concerned, then that which is left, ikhwan, by way of inheritance, then it is split in accordance with set rules in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah mentions them, ikhwan, as Allah states in Surah An-Nisa, mentions them in detail. لِلرِّجَالِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَانِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ وَلِلنِّسَاءِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَانِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ مِمَّا قَلَّ مِنْهُ أَوْ كَثُرَ نَصِيبًا مَفْرُوضًا. That Allah Azza wa Jal mentions that for the men is that which Allah Azza wa Jal, is a set portion of that which was left by the parents or by relatives. And for the women, there is a set portion, a specific portion that is left by one's parents or by the relatives, مِمَّا قَلَّ مِنْهُ أَوْ كَثُرَ, whether it is a large amount or a small amount, نَصِيبًا مَفْرُوضًا, a set, compulsory portion. And so, brothers and sisters, the wasiyah, one may give it, but the wasiyah may not be given, the bequest may not be given to someone who is going to inherit. So it is not permissible for you to give a wasiyah before you die to your son, because your son is an inheritor. It is not permissible for you to give a wasiyah to your wife, because your wife is an inheritor. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned, "Ala la wasiyata liwari." Indeed, there is no wasiyah for the warith. There is no wasiyah, there is no bequest for the one who is going to inherit. It is not permissible. And so, from the forms of harm, is that a person gives a large bequest, the greater portion of one's wealth to some inheritor. Why? Because he doesn't want his he can't stand his family. And he doesn't want them to inherit anything from him. He knows that they have a God-given right to what is left. And so in order to harm them, he takes 90% of his wealth before he dies and he gives it away. So that they're left with a small portion, nothing much for them to receive, nothing really for them to benefit from, and so he does so in order to harm them. And so we make that difference between the wasiyah and between inheritance. The wasiyah, a person, it is not permissible to give more than a third away as a bequest before you die. You may give that bequest to a relative that doesn't inherit. You may even give that wasiyah to a non-Muslim. Permissible. But it is not permissible, ikhwan, for the non-Muslim to inherit from the Muslim and vice versa. The wasiyah, nah. The wasiyah, permissible. The mirath, not permissible. And so in order to cause harm, he gives the greatest portion of his wealth away, so that those who are going to inherit will not be able to take any of his wealth. So he's a millionaire, and so he gives away the vast majority of his millions, and he leaves them with next to nothing. Harm. Similarly, ayyuha al-ikhwa, it enters into that which is between man and wife. And that is, brothers and sisters, that a man causes harm to his wife, or that a woman causes harm to her husband. And that harm, brothers and sisters, is harm that is delivered or carried out towards the one who has no right for that harm. And so he harms, for example, his wife by holding back his wealth. He has an abundance of wealth, but he doesn't give it to his family, doesn't give it to his wife, doesn't give her what she needs to take care of her needs, though he possesses much. And there is a difference, ikhwan, between the one that possesses and holds back and the one that does not possess. There is a great difference. We need to, ikhwan, establish that, because oftentimes we hear women saying that he doesn't give me anything. When one analyzes, he's not even on JSA. Yani the man has no money. Though na'am, he should be striving to work. He should be striving to obtain the means towards feeding his family and being a breadwinner for his family and his children now. But if that man is in a circumstance, as Allah SWT has mentioned, وَمَنْ قُدِرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقُهُ فَلْيُنْفِقْ مِمَّا آتَاهُ اللَّهُ لَا يُكَلِّفُ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا مَا آتَاهَا سَيَجْعَلَ اللَّهُ بَعْدَ عُسْرٍ يُسْرًا. Allah mentions that the one who has little means, as it relates to giving to the wife that he has divorced, the one who has little means, فَلْيُنْفِقْ مِمَّا آتَاهُ اللَّهُ, then let him spend from what Allah has given him. لَا يُكَلِّفُ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا مَا آتَاهَا. Allah will not burden a soul with more than Allah has given him. سَيَجْعَلَ اللَّهُ بَعْدَ عُسْرٍ يُسْرًا. But Allah shall make after a period of hardship ease. And so we make a difference between the one that has but refuses to give and the one that doesn't have. Naturally, the ruling for the one is not the same as the ruling for the other. And so, brothers and sisters, he causes harm. Or he causes harm, for example, to a woman that he intends to divorce. And so he divorces her. But when he believes that she wishes to remarry and to move on, and he has no intention to continue in that marriage, then he keeps her by causing that amal and that harm to her. So he keeps her and he waits, as occurs in an ayah in the book of Allah SWT, that the Mufassirun explained that he waits until the period is over or comes to its end. And he waits till the 3-month or the 3 menstrual cycle waiting period comes to its end. And then right at the end of the period he takes her back. with no intention really to keep her. He takes her back for a period, knowing that he has no intent to keep her, knowing that she needs to move on. He takes her back for a period, then he divorces her again. And then he leaves again the whole period to continue to its end. And then right at the end of that 3 menstrual cycle waiting period, he takes her back again. Just to prolong her suffering and to prolong her period. And that no doubt enters into this harm and this bar that Allah SWT, or that the Messenger of Allah rather has mentioned. Brothers and sisters, the affair enters into many an area from the areas of the deen of Allah SWT. But the main thing that we need to reflect upon is anything that we say, or anything that we do, or anything we're going to embark upon, or anything that we're going to give by way of nasiha or advice that we believe is advice, or that we tell ourselves is advice, when in actuality it does nothing but cause harm. Anything we're about to say, hold your tongue, yakhi, hold your lip, and ask yourself, is it going to cause harm? That transaction you're going to enter into, hold yourself. That thing that you're dying to do because of the benefit you're going to receive, hold yourself and ask yourself, is it going to cause harm? As much as we may not care about the harm that it causes to other than ourselves, then know, yakhi, know ayyatuha al-ukht, that the very same harm is going to come back to us la mahala. That is a promise of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Man darra Allahu bihi. So even if you don't care about the harm that you cause to other than yourself, then reflect at least upon your own safety. Reflect at least upon your own life, your own condition. Reflect at least upon the harm that you're going to cause to yourself. And maybe that may stop you. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alam. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala wa ba'd. Indeed, brothers and sisters, as we mentioned, this affair of harm, it enters into many areas. It enters into, likewise, ikhwan, that which is related to those situations where a person has brought his case or has a contention with an individual, and he brings that contention to the authorities. That is something that may happen. We hope, ikhwan, and we ask Allah SWT that He protects us from those types of situations, but it occurs. Or that you are brought to the authorities. That, brothers and sisters, is something again that in the likes of the type of country that we live in, and with the type of system that we're having to work with, then it is something that very well may occur. Know, brothers and sisters, that this affair likewise enters into that. It enters into those situations, for example, where a woman, because of the hatred that she has for her husband, and for her ex-husband, and because of the fact that she hates the love that her children have for their father, that she goes to the courts, and that she establishes or she brings about an injunction, for example, upon that father, preventing the father from seeing his children. And though the brother may not have a situation, or may not have a comely situation with that individual, or with his ex-wife, for example, it does not warrant, or Islamically, there is no right for her to stop him from seeing his children. She has no right to stop her children from seeing their father. No right. Just on the basis of that venom that she has. Just on the basis of the harm that she wants to cause to him, and the sore nature that she feels within her. She carries that out, knowing the harm that it's going to cause, knowing that it is not going to bring about that which Allah SWT has legislated from or placing and giving the rights to their deserve it or to the people that deserve them. Then that brother, in order to reciprocate, he goes to those, to the court and stands before them and lies before the judge and tells the judge that in actuality the reason I want my children is because she's upon the way of Al-Qaeda. And I have evidence that she's upon the way of Bin Laden. And she's nurturing my children upon extremism. And I don't want that. And I don't wish for my children to be brought up upon extremism. I wish liberalism for them. But she wants to place this extremism upon them, knowing that that may be something that may cause them to consider, knowing that it is kadhib, knowing that it is a lie, but having no intent but to cause harm to her, just as she wanted to harm me. Tabi ayyuha al-ikhwa, pay attention, for indeed the affair is one that is shadid. Man darra Allahu bihi. The one who causes harm, Allah Azza wa Jal will cause him harm. So when they take the children, or when they give and pass the judgment in favor of that man, she is now under surveillance. She is now taken in for questioning. Her whole household now is under surveillance. The children, the other children that she has to other than him, are now taken away by the social services. Harm, ikhwan. Intabi, think. And do not let the shaitan lead you on the basis of that hatred that you have for someone. And that despite of the despicable nature in which you see and view an individual, or the despicable light that you see them in, don't let that cause you to cause unnecessary, unpermissible harm. For indeed, brothers and sisters, the principle that is taken from this hadith is a qa'idah that our scholars, they mention. Al-jaza'u min jinsil amal. A qa'idah shar'iyya salima. A sound Islamic principle. Al-jaza'u min jinsil amal. That the way or the recompense that one receives, the meaning of the principle, the recompense that one receives will be on the basis of the type of action that you carry out. So when you're evil to your parents and to your mother, and you cause harm to your mother and your father, and don't care, because that's the relationship we always had, disrespectful, dishonorable, carry out the type of thing that one should not carry out to a person of nobility, and the most noble of the people in your eyes should be your mother and father, yet still dishonoring them, disrespecting them, not caring. Because they never looked after me when I was young, or they could have done a better job or whatever. You will grow, brothers and sisters, to have a child that does the same to you. You will grow to have a son that dishonors you and disrespects you. You will grow to have a daughter that dishonors and disrespects you and disobeys your commands. Al-jaza'u min jinsil amal, a principle from the principles extrapolated from the texts, ikhwan, but a principle that we see reiterating and repeating itself throughout the dunya, throughout the people's lives and our own lives. That principle returning back to this affair and the light of this hadith. Likewise, the statement, kama tadinu tudan. The way you deal with people, you will be dealt with. That is not something, brothers and sisters, that we say is a fallacy. Rather, we know that there is textual proof establishing it. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this hadith, ikhwan, similarly warned us against the affair of causing harm, just as occurs in the light of the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بِغَيْرِ مَا اكْتَسَبُوا. Those who cause harm to the believers and to the female believers, بِغَيْرِ مَا اكْتَسَبُوا, by way of other than what they have actually done. or by way of other than what has actually come from them. فَقَدْ احْتَمَلُوا بُهْتَانًا وَإِثْمًا عَظِيمًا. That indeed they have brought out, or mubina, they have brought out or they have carried out buhtan, great falsehood, great wrong, وَإِثْمًا مُبِينًا, and clear sin. And that, brothers and sisters, manifests itself quite easily, particularly in this YouTube age, in this Google age, in this Wikipedia age. When we come across a thing, or we see something somewhere, and so we begin to accuse individuals of that. And in this age, Ikhwan, of soap operas, and serials, and EastEnders, and the other serials and series that are present. This age, Ikhwan, of he say and she say, and you know what I heard, and you'll never guess what. Let me tell you a secret and don't tell no one. And that person likewise goes and tells somebody else that secret, but don't tell no one. And that person goes on, and I'm going to tell you something, but keep it to yourself. And then the whole of the dunya knows the secret about that sister, or that secret about that brother. And then in actuality, it turns out that it wasn't even true. It didn't really go the way that it was said it was supposed to have went. And so we fall into the likes of this ayah. قَدْ احْتَمَلُوا بُهْتَانًا وَإِثْمًا مُبِينًا. They have carried out great sin, or falsehood, and grave, clear sin. Ascertain the facts. Work with evidence. Work with what is clear cut. Not those mathematics. 2 and 2 make 7. And it is obvious. And anyone can see. And I know it must be the case. Intabi ikhwan. Because that unsuspected individual that you have caused that harm to, and that you have caused the people to look down upon, and that you have caused their close ones to dishonor and disrespect and be disgusted with, that individual, ikhwan, who's unaware and unsuspecting, Yawm al-Qiyamah, you have an affair with him. Yawm al-Qiyamah, you have an affair with her. And if it is that you just can't help yourself, and just can't hold that lip, and just have to waggle that tongue, then prepare for that which has been mentioned in the likes of this hadith. Dar Allahu bihi. It is going to come to you, ayyuha al-akh. It is going to come, ya ayyuhatu al-ukht. La mahala. Without doubt. And for those of you who love to cause contention, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the messenger mentioned, will be in contention with you. Allah Azza wa Jal will be in contention with you. And if you're easy with that, and if you have no problem with that, then continue. Enjoy yourself. But if you fear Allah Azza wa Jal, and if you fear the day and that standing before Allah subhanahu, and if you fear the reckoning with Al-Azim, Al-Aziz, Al-Jabbar, then let us try and implement something from the statements of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And before his statement, the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى يوفقنا وإياكم لما يحبه ويرضاه وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا